On today's show, we've learned some lessons from the NBA playoffs this year, and the Dallas Mavericks are missing crucial pieces to get it done next season. We'll talk about what those are in today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm going to get a city like back.
Dogs, all of us, all five.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, Rusty.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
No one's dying.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Still can't leave me alone.
Your team every day.
Gotta be born with the dog up.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks, your team every day. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member covering the Dallas Mavericks for 10 years. Thanks for being in every day or making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. This episode is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Turn any TV into an Xbox. No console needed. Head to amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to learn more. Joining me, as always, the post-game prodigy from the Great Slightly Biased YouTube channel. Out of the bullpen, what you got for me, Slightly Biased?
I've been really enjoying this postseason.
Me too.
It's been great. I know that there's only one tied series currently as of the time we're recording this, but there've been some great games, to say the least.
Yeah, we're going to talk about some of those games. And like he said, we're recording this Tuesday afternoon, and before some of these games have gone on Tuesday night. But I've learned some lessons from some of these playoff series. You're watching these series and you're seeing the level of physicality. You're seeing the shooting level that needs to be hit now in 2025, the scoring options you need to have, the different looks you need to have, and all that. And so I want to apply that to the Mavericks too. And we'll talk about some of these series and what we've seen in these and get into it. But let's start here. Slightly made a good point. It's not breaking news. It happens every single day. Literally, probably once every 10 minutes. He makes a good point on his show.
It's true.
That we are no longer in just the best player in the series era anymore. You can't just rely on, all right, we're going into this. We're the Bucks. We have Giannis. We have the best player in the series. We're going against this Pacers team. We're the Nuggets, and we have Jokic, and we have the best player in the series. It's as of right now, it's tied 2-2 for them, and maybe they'll win tonight. But you can't just rely on that to get you through anymore. You can't just be Luka and the LeBron and the Lakers and go, all right, we're gonna win the series just because we have the best player. You said it's now a weak link era. Basically, explain what you mean by the weak link era for especially playoff basketball, because we've seen it so much already.
Well, I mean, the weak link era, we've heard this term before. I mean, if you've played basketball, you've probably heard this. You're only as strong as your weakest link. And you see this all the time in postseason, especially when games slow down. Teams are going to go after your weakest link defensively. Almost every single possession, they're going to hunt a guy until that guy either gets played off the floor or has to play so well offensively that he counteracts that. And then offensively, you see, the Clippers. I mean, Kendrick Nunn is incredible defensively, and he's wreaking havoc in this series. It's been unbelievable. Chris Dunn. I literally always call him Kendrick
Nunn. I was like, Kendrick Nunn. I heard that he's balling overseas right now, but
it's insane how often I do that. But and I have no clue why. But Chris Dunn has been playing great defensively. I mean, flying all over the court. It's been incredible. Game 4, they had to take him off the floor. Yeah. The Clippers did, and put Bogey in, who hadn't been good all season really, but he did have a game 4 because the Nuggets were literally leaving him by himself offensively. And, we've seen this. If you watch Mavs postseasons, you've seen this before with guys. But, it's reaching the point where if you have a guy like that on your team, it's going to be difficult to win because you look around, win a championship because you look around and there are teams in the league who do not have a guy like that, who do not have a guy that you can leave open and do not have a guy that you can hunt defensively every single possession. So that's sort of where we're at. And the more weak links you have, if there's more than one, it's really difficult to imagine you winning. Yeah. But even with one, it's difficult to imagine.
I mean, those teams that you mentioned, the ones that don't have them, are the Cavs, the Thunder, and the Celtics, basically, right?
Yeah.
The Timberwolves have looked really strong, but they have Rudy Gobert, who is not a weak link necessarily. He's just limited in what he can do offensively, especially. And so they've gone to so many looks of Randall at the 5, not obviously Naz Reid at the 5. They've tried that against this Lakers team, and it's worked. They're up 3-1 as we're recording this right now. And I find that weak link thing is very interesting because it is definitely what it is. And we saw that going through last year's playoffs that Luka could take apart the weak link. Like he could find the weak link and he could take it apart. I think the Mavs are going to do that in a different way next year with taking advantage of smaller guys. You can't just you shouldn't just be able to throw out a guard, like a really small guard that can't hold his own without feeling that impact from the Mavs, whether it's a double team coming for Anthony Davis or Gafford or Lively, and then they take advantage of finding the open guy, or those guys just take advantage of win a post up and win, like we've seen with a Jokic or a Zubats or some of these other bigs that we're seeing right now in the playoffs right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just going to be all about versatility. And, you're not going to have 5 guys who are good at everything. Like, that's not what we're saying, really. It's just
the Thunder have said, hold my beer.
The Celtics have also said, are you
Celtics.
sure about that? But,
yeah, right.
It's more so having guys that aren't notable weak links, aren't guys where it's like Austin Reeves. And look, I'll just be honest, 3 of the 4 games this series, Luka defensively, where it's like we can go after this guy every single time down the floor, and we feel like we can score on him. And Chris Kendrick Nunn Dunn on the Clippers, like we will help off this guy, and we feel zero confidence that he can hurt us in any way. And if he does, then we'll switch it up. But we'll let him shoot 6 wide open threes. Like in game 4, he was 1 of 6 from 3, all completely wide open, and missed 5 of them, went 1 of 6. So that's where we're at, and it's why building a championship team in the NBA is so difficult. It's so hard.
So hard. It's so fragile. The Mavs had a finals team last year. And
honestly, though, they weren't close.
Yeah, right.
They were not close in that series.
No.
I'll argue if you make it to the finals, you're close, because who knows? Like the Celtics could have Tatum, Brown, KP could have got hurt in the conference finals. And then all of a sudden you're playing the Pacers, which have given them trouble. But
well, that's like what happened to the Raptors, right? When they won.
Yeah.
Like, there's injuries on the other side. The Warriors team got hurt.
So I wouldn't say that they were like far away or anything like that, but matching up against a pretty healthy Celtics team, KP barely even played in the series, that they were far away. They weren't that close.
I'll still never forget when KP returns and what was it, game 2, and he makes like the WWE entrance and at TD Garden. I was just, I was sick at that moment.
The first quarter, game 1 was just like, oh man, this is not going to be fun.
Yeah, right. Yeah. If you look at the Mavs lineups right now, and let's assume they don't add somebody that makes this 5-man lineup, because I don't know that they're going to do that. Even in the names we've discussed and thrown around, the draft pick, the free agency, any trade that they can make, they may have their playoff 5 right now, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's tough to say, but probably.
Right? I think they probably do. The weak link right now, let's just say it's the starting lineup. Kyrie, Klay, PJ, AD, Lively. Who do you think is the weak link? What are we going to be worried about come playoff time next year with that group?
Well, defensively, of that group, you don't have a strong point of attack defender. That's like the group's weak link, is you don't have a guy who is like, we're playing Anthony Edwards. Who's going to guard Anthony Edwards in our starting 5? You don't really want Kyrie to do it. Klay's not Klay of 2017. Well, that's not PJ's game, really.
You're going to have a 36-year-old shooting guard and a 34-year-old point guard coming off of, or 33. I guess it'll be 33 in the playoffs, but coming off of an ACL, like, oof.
I mean, in terms of like perimeter defense, I would say you've got weak links all up and down that lineup. Honestly, I think they're all fine team defenders, but in terms of just defending one-on-one, those guys are all problems. But
Which you would also say about the Lakers. And the Lakers have also defensively have been okay. I think you can hold up at times. I don't think you have to have that one lockdown defender. Would you say the Warriors even have that?
Well,
which I guess the Rockets don't have a one-on-one guy to take advantage of that right now. But like the Warriors are throwing out Podziemski, and I guess Jimmy Butler would be that guy for them.
Yeah, the thing that the Warriors and Lakers, I guess, have is they do have wings that can sort of,
the dirty work wings,
right? But the Warriors are different because they've got Draymond, who's just this captain of the defense.
Well, but shouldn't that be what AD is?
Yeah, but Draymond's one of one in that sense, where they can go small and they can do all these things because he'll stand up to Şengün on the free throw line last possession of the game, and Şengün has to take a jump hook from the free throw line. And the Lakers, I mean, I'd argue you're seeing it. Like Ant's having an incredible series, and they don't have an answer for him. And Julius Randle's having an incredible series, and they don't have an answer for him. And Jaden McDaniel's having an incredible series because you're putting your 2 strongest defenders on Ant and Julius Randle, and McDaniel's is feasting. So I think it's becoming a big problem for the Lakers in a serious way.
Yeah, very, very true. Yeah, if you look at let's say they do a lineup of a smaller lineup, they take Lively out of it because I thought maybe you'd mention Lively as a guy that offensively he's kind of 1-2 dimensional where you don't have to guard him as much.
Yeah,
they do Kyrie, Klay, and like a Martin or a Naji, PJ, and AD.
Well, that's fine defensively, but that's when you start to get to your Caleb Martin weak link offensively, Naji Marshall. Like teams have to just sacrifice certain things, and they will let Caleb Martin shoot threes. They will let Naji Marshall shoot threes. And that's going to be a huge concern. That's why I did grades of the season for the Mavs. I ended up giving Naji a B. And people were like, well, I was like, he shot 29% from three. Like, if the Mavs didn't make the playoffs, it was going to be a problem.
That was our one thing going into the season. We're like, he's got to. Last year for him on the Pelicans couldn't have been a fluke where he shot well from three.
Yeah. No. And it was, unfortunately.
And it was. Well, I bet. I mean, we'll see.
Well, fortunately for him, there wasn't a playoffs to worry about getting exposed.
Is that fortunate? I don't know if that's because that's the one benefit of not making the playoffs is you don't get exposed in the playoffs.
That's right.
Coming up, teams have to have different kinds of looks in the playoffs. We've seen a lot of different looks with a lot of these teams in the playoffs right now. What looks do the Mavericks have to go to? We'll talk about that and more coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Did you know that your Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K, I'm saying it right every time, could be an Xbox. You can plug it up and with a compatible controller and all that, and a subscription to Xbox Live, the Ultimate Game Pass. You can use that for an Xbox. It's great. You can play all kinds of different titles, college football, the EA Sports game, Call of Duty, all that kind of stuff with an Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included. You can play that, dive in hundreds of those titles, and you can jump into your favorite Xbox titles without even needing your console in every room. Gotta love that about this. You can also do all kinds of other 4K streaming services. You can, stream Netflix on it and YouTube and all that kind of stuff on that as well. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. Go get your Fire Stick today. Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, what we call our listeners. We appreciate each and every one of you for listening to the show. We're talking about lessons we've learned in the playoffs from some of these teams. We've been watching all these games. Slightly, I know you've been doing them on playback. You've been watching them all, though, having a great time. Your response to Anthony Edwards' huge dunk and Aaron Gordon's game-winning dunk I just love. I love seeing every response of like the in the moment slightly response.
It's just usually the same thing, like, oh!
It still gets me every time. You got me right there, and you're just miming it. One of the things. It's just great. That's what we love about the play. That's what we love about basketball is that you get those plays where it's just like, what just happened? And it's felt like a different sport. Like it literally has felt like the difference between flag football and NFL football. It's like regular season basketball and playoff basketball.
So when you said we were going to do this was one of the things I wanted to talk about actually. So can we just talk about it right now?
Let's do it. Yeah.
This is where the Mavericks, and this is where Kill a Kid, you start to get the playoff kid. You watch these games, and it is the physicality has been ramped up times a million. Like these teams are playing football, like you said, they're basically playing football with each other, and the refs are letting so much go, and that's why the Mavericks typically do well and much better in the playoffs, at least from a defensive side, where there's possessions defensively and stretches defensively where you're like, my God, I didn't even know the Mavs were capable of playing defense like this. It's because they have a bunch of physical defenders, and this group, I don't think there's a great point of attack defender as it stands currently, but you do still have like Caleb Martin can play physical defense. Yeah. PJ Washington, an incredible physical defender. We know that. Naji, an incredible physical defender. And when the playoffs come around, those guys sort of get a boost, I think, defensively.
They will. Yeah. And I think that if that continues next year, maybe the NBA will look at this year because I feel like it's been even more physical than last year's playoffs.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they showed that there was that one where the Anthony Edwards LeBron going back and forth, and the commentators were even like, yeah, they've been doing that for like 6 straight possessions. And I feel like the refs were just finally like, all right, I have to call a foul now. So
gotta call something.
You guys can chill out a little bit.
Well, even the Rockets, the series that I specifically wanted to bring up with physicality is the Rockets Warriors, which that game was a game 4, was just so physical back and forth. Dylan Brooks literally was like, I'm just going to try to get some of these guys kicked out because that's our best hope is to get Steph Curry or Draymond kicked out of this game.
I mean, they're basically bear hugging Steph off ball. Clippers Denver is just unbelievable physicality. Like it's remarkable, and it's what makes playoff basketball. So that's one thing going for this Mavs group.
Detroit and the Knicks is very physical too. Where Detroit,
they all are, besides the pathetic Heat, who are just like, we're not. We don't want any piece of this.
They didn't even say 1, 2, 3 Cancun. That's too far for them. They just said 1, 2, 3 3 Miami Beach. Let's stay here and let's not pack a bag.
We're good. We're gonna go right after the game ends.
I'm glad you said they are prepared for that kind of physicality, because I think you're right. I think that besides the two guards in Kyrie and Klay, and those guys can play with physicality, but they don't thrive in that sort of environment. It's not like they're not going to get that same boost that you said, but they've got the wings. They've got the wings in Naji, Martin, PJ Washington, even throw AD in there in some senses. They've got wings to be able to play like this and to play with physicality like we've seen.
What's your favorite type of wing?
I'm a lemon pepper guy.
I'm a smoked wing.
Oh,
the best kind.
Naked smoked wings.
Best kind. Maybe some buffalo sauce, but just smoked wings.
Give me some ranch on the side, man.
I'm a sucker. I'm a blue cheese guy.
Really?
And it's crazy as I used to hate blue cheese, but it just clicked. One day it just clicked. I don't know what happened.
Slowly in your old age, it just.
I guess so. That's how it was with Diet Coke too. And I used to think it was disgusting.
Wow.
One day I was like, you know what? Let me try this again. And I was like, yeah, all right.
One of the other lessons I've learned in the playoffs, and we learn this every year, is you got to have different looks. You got to have different looks, and I think it specifically the looks that I'm noticing. You got to have versatile bigs. You have to have different kinds of bigs. You look at the Warriors, Draymond at the 5. You already mentioned he's a 1-of-1, dinosaur that shouldn't work in today's NBA and does. They can throw him at the 5 or him at the 4, and that works. Houston played Şengün and Steven Adams. And this series is Warriors 3-1, but it's been pretty close. They've had really close games. It's not like, I don't think the Warriors have been like blown out like the Heat.
And Ime, I thought they made a mistake last night going away from it because the Hack and Adams started. I think
it started, but they didn't even get free throws out of it yet. I was like,
I know. I was texting one of my Rockets fans. I was like, even if Steven Adams goes 1 of 2 on these possessions, is that not probably better offense than anything else?
He was so impactful. He was altering shots at the rim. He was getting boards. Yeah. But they played. I looked it up. They only played those two together 150 minutes in the regular season, and they've played 47 minutes together in 4 games so far in the playoffs.
It was late. They kind of started going to it late in the season, and everyone was like, "Look out! Wait, what's going on here?" They're rebounding like 50% of their misses.
They're just like, screw it. We don't need shooting. We don't need more offense. Let's just double down on what we're good at, which I guess is another playoff thing. But so you have Houston doing that. You have Minnesota with the Gobert, Nasri, Julius Randle lineups. They've had all 3 of those guys at the 5 at different points. Yeah,
I mean, that's a great point. And then if you want to expand on that, the Lakers, right, you see them struggling because Jackson Hayes is straight up bad. Like, he's a horrible player. And they don't have any other options. I mean, speaking to your point, it really is who has the most unanswerable questions in a series will almost always win. And that's why, as of the time of recording, this is 2-2 Nuggets-Clippers. But I just feel so confident the Clippers will win the series ultimately because they're just better. And they have more things to throw at the Nuggets than the Nuggets have to throw at the Clippers. So, I agree with you. Versatile bigs is so big because you can play small, you can play big. It just opens up a lot of different things for you.
That's one thing I am really hopeful about with Anthony Davis is that he is a versatile big. He can do a lot of things. He can get up. He can go get you a bucket. He can defend all different ways. We've seen Lively defend out on the perimeter and at the rim. We've seen Lively. He's not just one-dimensional on offense in that he can only be a pick-and-roll guy, but he can also play off of the short roll and makes great passes off there. So I think that's something that, and he kind of, at least in this season from what we saw of him, he added that little post like jump hook thing so he can take advantage of some smaller defenders too. I think that's a really big step for him.
And did you know he improved his free throw percentage by 13%?
Wow.
50 to 63. Which, I mean,
that's a jump. I'll take that.
That's a massive jump. 50. I mean, we talked about this at times last year. It's like 50 is like teetering on unplayable at times. And you saw the Thunder did the hack of Lively. Like, if you're at 50%, that's dangerous. 63 and improving, we can start to work with that. But yes, Lively's a very versatile big.
That just brought back to my mind the play of Chet Holmgren chasing Lively around the court.
Yeah, it felt like the world. We were on top of the world then. Like nothing could beat us.
Man. The Celtics did, and then
the Celtics did, and the Celtics. Speaking to your point, they got KP, they've got Horford.
Yeah.
So if you put yourself in a bind, and I hate going back to the Lakers, but they're relevant in this, where it's like we have to play Rui at the 5, like we don't have a choice. That's you're in a dangerous spot. And you're not going to win 3 straight series.
The Mavs are there with their guards right now.
Yeah,
you got to play Kyrie at the 1, and that's it. Like as of right now. And so that's why we've been harping on this all week is that they've got to add another offensive creator because it can't be just Kyrie and that's it.
Yeah. Well, going back to AD, we said versatile big. I mean, we know he's a championship big.
Yeah, true.
Like, we know that for sure. So I'm not worried about him at all. It is the guards. The guards are the concerning piece here because it's just the weak link of the team currently.
It is. And they have some options to be able to fix that. And we'll talk about that all summer for sure. But yeah, I think going with versatile bigs is definitely one. The Thunder too on versatile bigs. I mean, Chet, Isaiah Hartenstein, putting Jalen Williams at the 4 sometimes at the 5. Even the Jalen Williams, the backup 5, he can shoot a little bit, and they can throw him or play him with either of their bigs.
They're saying that's why Jokic shouldn't win MVP.
Because the Thunder are so versatile.
I don't know if you saw towards the end of the season when J. Will was just running the offense. He was a triple-double machine. So people are saying any center could get triple doubles.
Jokic is a center merchant. Is that what you're trying to say?
Jokic is a usage touch merchant.
I mean, that's the era we're in, though. Stars just get more usage than they have ever before, basically.
That's true.
Which is smart. Coming up, scoring options. Do the Mavericks have enough scoring options to win in the playoffs? And do they have enough shooting? 2 questions that need to be answered. Talk about that and more coming up. All right, Slightly. Couple more things I've learned about the playoffs and just watching. I think I've watched almost every playoff game this year. I've watched so much playoffs this year.
Same.
That you need scoring options. I started to go through it. I'm like, all right, who are the teams that are ahead in their series? And how many players have they had? And I just did, how many players have they had that have scored 20 points in one of these playoff games? The Thunder have had 4 players. They've had 10 games of 20 points for a single player. Minnesota has had 4 different players, 10 games of 20-point games. The Knicks, 4 different players, 10 games of 20 points for a single player in a game. Clippers, 4 different players. You're seeing a pattern. The Cavs, 6 different players have done it. The Lakers have had 4.
Jerome.
And the Nuggets have had 3 players because MPJ has not stepped up and scored 20 in a game. And
Aaron Gordon?
I think it was Aaron Gordon, Jokic, and Murray have been the 3 that have scored 20. You've got to have 4. I think you have to have 4 players that can get you. And now some of these have just it's been like Ty Jerome. You said you got 21 one time, right? Or Rui got 21 one time. Good, though. But you've got to have at least 4. When I look at the Mavs, I think Kyrie can definitely get you 20. AD can get you 20. And then after that, who else could get you 20? Klay, I feel confident could.
Yeah, Klay could have a hot shooting game.
And then where do you go after that?
Well, if it's PJ could get you 20, I think. But yeah, I'm not like uber confident that PJ will get you 20 points is the problem. But could it be like a Jaden McDaniels type of, I'm hunting this mismatch, I'm PJ Washington, and you've already seen me do this in the playoffs, and they're putting their weaker defender on me or a smaller guy on me, and I'm just picking them apart. But the problem is who's setting all of these guys up, because Kyrie's the only guy that we've mentioned that's someone who can consistently create his own offense. So that's where the big problem is.
And reliable offense. AD can set up his own offense. I'm concerned about him setting up himself every single time, like to a superstar level. At he's gonna get hit. He can get that turnaround fadeaway jumper every single time, but I'm not real confident in it. I'm definitely gonna do a deep dive in those numbers on that shot, because just every time it went up this year, I was like, oh.
Well, to speak on your question, the Rockets, did you say how many they've had? Because they're a team where they're kind of similar offensively to the Mavs in a way where it's like you mentioned some guys on their team. You're like, well, that guy can get 20, and that guy can get 20, and that guy can get 20. But the problem is who's creating stuff for them to get 20, and that's where they run into big problems. And I do think the Mavericks, I don't know if they'll be as offensively inept as the Rockets, but it's not unfeasible with this current group.
But definitely not. You just look at Kyrie alone, and Kyrie is way more reliable than any of the Rockets guys.
Coming off an ACL injury, to be fair.
Good point. They've had, I think they've had 3. They've had Şengün with 2, Van Vliet with 1, and Jalen Green with the 1.
Yeah, I mean, that's just...
And Van Vliet's one came off of 8 threes.
Yeah, that was crazy. All of his makes.
Can you rely on that? I don't know.
No, I mean, look at his numbers. You can't rely on it. I mean, I looked at just before I got on here, half court offense. I mean, this gets talked about all the time when the game slows down. If 8 of these playoff teams are outside of the top 10, 6 of them have either already been eliminated or are down 3-1. 6 of the 8 outside the top 10. I
bring this up every squad show we talk about the Rockets. The Rockets half court offense was worse than the Jazz this season.
Yeah, it's their offensive strategy of there was a funny video that was like their strategy is just missing shots because they're the best in the NBA at rebounding and they're the best in the NBA on scoring off of offensive rebounds. So that's their best offense.
Well, the thing with them though, and it's different than the Mavericks. They've been playing at least for 47 minutes. Adams, Şengün, and Amen Thompson, like 3 non-shooters, and the Mavs Mavs have like 2 non-shooters on the team right now.
But the problem is they don't
play together.
Well, that and PJ, they're going to teams will force PJ to shoot. Teams will force Naji to shoot. Teams will force Caleb to shoot. So while, it's not like Amen Thompson was 19% from 3. And then Steven Adams is just not shooting threes. And Şengün has been really bad at 3. It's not like that. It's more just you have to prove that you can hit threes against those guys. So you can imagine a series where the Mavs get swept. They're losing 5. And you look at it and you're like, well, PJ shot 23% from 3 and Caleb Martin was 11% on 5 attempts.
Yeah. Most 20-point games this season, and take all the injuries and missed games into account because the numbers aren't going to you're not going to be super encouraged by this. But Kyrie, 35 of his 50 games, he scored 20 points. 35 of his 51. Like, okay, I'm confident both those guys can score 20 and would score 20 every playoff game.
Yeah.
Confident in that. After that, Naji, 17. A lot of those came when AD and Kyrie and Luka were all out.
True.
So, but he was next on the list as far as most 20-point games. So he's the one. We have a lot of Naji talk this summer.
I really would worry about his game in a playoff setting.
Yeah, which we haven't seen. He wasn't on the finals team last year.
Yeah.
Klay was next one up. 16 of his 72 games, he had 20 points, which we're confident Klay's shooting. PJ, 14 of his games, and then Gafford only had 6 games of 20 points, and Lively only had 1 game of 20 points, but he only played 35 games.
That's not that surprising to me, the Lively one.
No. But that's where you are. It's like, all right, who could score 20 between Naji, Klay, and PJ right now?
Yeah. I mean, you'd have to get – that's just the thing is I don't know. I'm looking at this, and it is damning when you look at the offensive – and by the way, the numbers that I said were from the trade deadline onwards. It's just damning looking at it, and it's like it's a tale as old as time. And we always talk about it, and then you always try to talk yourself into these teams that aren't – it's like if you're not an elite half-court offense – you're probably not going to win in the playoffs. Like, that's just the truth, right? Unless you have, and we talked about this yesterday, where the Mavericks defense can't be 7th. It can't be, 10th. I don't even know if it can be 5th, Nick, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if 5th would cut it. I think it has to be like an elite level defense. And you said what? That they had 105 defensive rating. But AD was on the floor this year?
It was good. Yeah, it was like 105, 106, something like that.
Which that would be. I mean, if that was just the Mavs defensive rating as a team, and you can't do that because it's a stupid thing to do. But
he played 41 minutes with Lively. So I'm not going to take a lot out of the numbers from this season, really.
Frame of reference: the Thunder 107 defensive rating was the best.
Yeah, it's
in the league. So,
and you look at here are the best half court offenses in the regular season this year: Cleveland, Oklahoma City, Boston, Denver, Milwaukee. The Milwaukee one is fascinating to me. That one.
Yeah,
they lost Lillard and
sure they've had a messed up. They've just had a weird season.
The ones after that, you ready for this? Indiana, New York, the Lakers, Phoenix. Phoenix got all their problems. Chicago, Minnesota, Sacramento, then Dallas, but Dallas doesn't really count. Clippers at a 99. They're like right on the edge. They're 14th in half court offense.
See, I don't ever when talking about playoffs, I only do like February onwards for those stats.
Yeah,
I think the early season literally means nothing. In the playoffs.
And teams are so different.
Teams are different. Different guys, guys get ramped up, especially an older team like the Clippers. Kawhi is not getting ramped up to play in November, December games. It's this point in time where Kawhi's out there and playing. So,
Clippers, 3rd best half court offense since February.
They can win. They can win the finals.
They could.
Genuinely think they could win the finals.
They're the team like the Mavericks last year that had the puncher's chance to beat the Thunder and then go and play one of these teams.
They are the only team I would say that about beating the Thunder. Genuinely.
Yeah, because you look at the Warriors or the Timberwolves.
And this is people are I get it because we're the Mavs fans and we had that rivalry. The Thunder are a problem for a long time.
Better than last year.
They're way better than last year. And that Grizzlies series, man, it was mean. They're demonic. That's what I like about them. They're just mean. They had all this. The Grizzlies less than 48 hours after winning a play-in game go into Oklahoma City and they're like, all right, come on, guys. Like, let's just try to hold our own game one, lose by 50. Then game 3 at home. It's like, all right, we're up by 25 at half. Like, come on, guys, we got this. And then the Thunder just turn it on. Like, it's mean what they've done to the Grizzlies. So I'd be shocked if they lose like 2-3 games before the finals.
I'm fascinated to see them against if it is the Clippers. I'm fascinated to see them against.
The Nuggets don't have a chance, I don't think.
The Nuggets thing, going back to the 20-point scores, they've only had 3 because, like you said, his MPJ hasn't stepped up because he's injured. He can barely use his left shoulder, which was wild. There's a clip that Ryan Blackburn, our Locked On Nuggets host, posted where MPJ is standing in the right corner and he's catching a pass and the ball's in the air and his left arm is still at his side and his right arm is up to catch it. Yeah, because he didn't want to lift his arm until he absolutely had to. And I was like, oof, that is just, you don't want to be second guessing your body movements at this point in the playoffs.
It happens every year. Every year there are teams that just get and I don't think the Nuggets were a team that could make a deep run. They don't have the guys.
No, none of the Locked On Nuggets guys did their eulogy for the season like 3 times this year.
I mean, they just don't have the depth. Like we've already talked about it. But it's always those teams where it might not be like a Damian Lillard injury, which absolutely sucks. Oof. But it is like hey, Nuggets lost round 1. Yeah, but people will forget that Michael Porter Jr. couldn't lift his arm, and that changed the series entirely.
Yeah, or you go back to the Mavs 2020, 2021, where KP got injured in 2021, and you're like, it just completely changed everything.
I mean, even last year's Mavs team, it's because they made the finals. It's weird to say, but Luka was at like 60%. I felt like for the whole run.
I know. What could have been?
I know.
Last thing really quick I want to do is the Mavs, do they have playoff level shooting? I went through and I think you need 3 to 5 players in a single game who can make 2 or more threes. You start to go through the list and you're like, all these teams have at least 3 to 5 guys that can make 2+ threes. And I think for the Mavs, you have Kyrie and Klay you're confident in. And then it goes back to the 3-point shooting you mentioned. Can AD make a couple? Can Martin make a couple? Can Max Christie make a couple? PJ, Naji. And I put guard X ? Because we don't know whoever else they add.
Well, Christie's kind of this hidden. If Christie were to,
it's a big question this summer.
I'm not saying he had to play like how he did the first 7 games where he was like 17 points per game or whatever it was. But could he be closer to that for the majority of the season? Then he becomes a real guy in the playoffs, and we're talking about maybe he should start and all of this stuff. If it's more towards the end where he's timid and he's not even shooting open threes for whatever reason, I don't even know, that's where it becomes a problem. But the issue with the Mavs, like maybe you can squint and find 3 guys who can shoot. The problem is how can we get those guys on the floor? Like it's a different thing if it's the lineup with the shooters doesn't work because they're too small or they don't defend or whatever the case may be. It's going to be really interesting to try and dial back the clock and win basketball games in ways that you don't really haven't seen for a long time.
Yeah, it's going to be different. It's definitely going to be different. But the Mavs do have a lot of pieces. Like there's a lot of things we talked about in this. The Mavs do have. They have physicality. They have different looks with versatile bigs. They have the weak link thing we can talk about defensively, where I think they have that covered in a way. They do have some things that they need to figure out, and you got to figure out through the season and through the offseason. So we'll have all that covered. Go check out Slightly Biased. Great stuff on his YouTube channel, the playback, covering all these finals all the time. Guys, thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. We'll be back tomorrow with Dana Larson talking about Anthony Davis and building around him. Guys, thanks for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.